Hi everyone and welcome, my name is Dora and this is my finale for my 30-day makeup bag challenge. I made it! Yes! I'm all done with it. I'm so glad. It was so much fun actually. It was so different to last year when I did the same challenge. If you're not familiar with my challenge, I'm going to link my playlist up here and also down below in the description box. So you can watch last year's 30-day challenge and then also the intro from this time round. So the reason I wanted to put myself on a 30-day makeup challenge this time round, I always knew I was going to do another one in the summer, but I brought it forward to March into April because I was just craving change. I wanted a time out from all of the projects that I was doing. I also, spurred on by the amazing progress that I had made last year, I knew that if I was going to limit myself to certain makeup products in my collection, instead of rotating through them, then I'd be able to make much better progress. And that's something that I was just eager to see. Also, I wanted like a bit of a timeout situation from my eyeshadow projects, or rather, I wanted the time to reevaluate. Yeah, how do I want to do my eyeshadow projects going forward in 2025? You know, we're now done with Q1 and yeah, I mean, I know that I'm making changes basically. My padding needs have changed and I mentioned this quite a bit in my introduction for this challenge as well. I am much more interested in downsizing my collection and fitting everything into 2 drawers rather than hitting pan, which is so exciting and I still love it, but I can't be doing all the things. It just doesn't make sense, you know. All right, I'm gonna go through first some notes. 2.5 pages of A5 here in terms of notes that I took as I went along. When I show you the products, there'll be before shots that I took on day 1 so we can see the visual progress that I made. I also took the weights, so there's weight difference. We can talk about that. I tallied all the uses of everything that I used. And yeah, 24 items including 4 eyeshadow palettes. Was that? No, 23, sorry. 1 extra because I had to replace something. But in the end, I also rolled out 2 products. Yeah, we'll get to that. Still though, before I go into all of my notes and insights that I've been getting over these past 30 days, I want to give you some highlights. On day 6, I repressed my face powder. I'd obviously only put 1 face powder into this challenge and yeah. On day 6, it came to me having to repress it. On day 9, I hit a 4th pan in my cream blusher. If you're like, what are you talking about? You'll see in a moment if you're not familiar. On day 11, I decided to roll 1 product out of this challenge, and it was my black eye pencil, my Kohl by P2. I just hadn't used it up until that point. I thought initially maybe I'll roll it out and replace it. I didn't. So I never used it, decided to just put it back in my backup makeup bag of stuff that wasn't in this challenge. On day 14, I hit pan in an eyeshadow, yay! And I also finished a fixing spray, so that was really cool. I didn't end up replacing that fixing spray, to be honest. I was just like, no, let me instead now focus on my primer. Maybe I'll be able to finish it in this challenge. On day 21, I hit another pan in an eyeshadow. Then on day 25, I did finish my face primer and I rolled in another one to replace it, but not the fixing spray. So yeah, I went down by 2 products, basically, down from 23 to 21. So quite early on in the challenge, actually, when it came to picking out my products, I already noticed a mindset shift. Or it helped me with something because I wrote here, I didn't want to commit to any products, you know, in terms of putting them into this challenge for 30 days that I thought might potentially cause irritation or might be expiring or have already expired or going to expire, you know, over the course of the 30 days. And that thought process showed me that if they're not good enough to come into this 30-day challenge, then they shouldn't be in my collection, right? So I decided to declutter, even though I didn't use them, but you know, smell test and all the things, swatch tests. I did allow myself to swatch and have access to all of my makeup, to look at it, but to not apply it to my face basically. And that was different from how I did it last time. So yeah, I decided to declutter 2 eye products, a pencil, an eye pencil, and a Franken pot of cream eyeshadow. And I also decided that I will no longer be frankening scraps of eyeshadow pens anymore. And this is a huge thing for me. This whole urge to pan something to completion, and that means to dig into a product and still use it and make it work and maybe melt it together. And especially, you know, with lip products, that's a whole different thing. With eye products, I'm just not going to do that to myself anymore. You know, I don't have that desire to complete things anymore like that. If I'm going to use an eyeshadow pen, you know, when it's flush with the packaging, that is good enough. I can then recycle it. I don't need to dig into the component and create this festival of bacteria, you know, a breeding ground that's just going to cause irritation on my eyes. It's just, for me personally, I have such sensitive skin and sensitive eyes, and before I put myself on this challenge, I was going through irritation on my eyes quite regularly. And I've already decided to, and I showed you in videos, I've already decluttered 1 eye pencil that was over that 24-month period, and by not using it for a while and then reintroducing it, I figured out that that was the culprit, and I got rid of that. But then the issues were still coming back every now and then with other products. Like, who knows? I can tell you that throughout these 30 days, I didn't do anything different in terms of, you know, I'm still washing my brushes regularly and whatnot. I have not had any eye irritation. And I know the reason for that is because I only put products into this challenge that I was very confident about still being good enough for me to use, still within date and not expired. So I've learned that. I think it's growth because, yeah, that almost obsession and urge to finish something to completion, and to only, you know, that perfectionist in me to only say, but it's only done if you've used up every last little crumb or milligram. I've been able to get rid of that. I'm not bothered anymore. My eye health is more important to me. So wow, long thing. But yeah, that was just such an aha moment, you know. If I'm not wanting to put something into this challenge, or similarly, if you're not doing a challenge like that, you know, if you're going on a trip and you're packing your travel makeup and there's things in your collection that you wouldn't take on holiday with you because maybe you think, oh, what if it goes bad, or what if it causes an issue, and then, you know, being stuck without a product or not being sure where you'd be able to find a replacement when you're away. That's such a sign that it's not good enough for the everyday either. Yeah. Okay, moving on to my next point here. Quite early on as well, I just loved how fast and easy it was for me to pick products for a look, because I had my selection of base products. I only had a choice with a few items like eyeshadow sticks, lip products, blushes as well, but everything else pretty much, and eyeshadows of course, but everything else pretty much was just one product, you know. So much easier for me to make a choice based on the limitation I had given myself. And even for blush and lip products, you know, I was only choosing between 2 or 3 things instead of between all of it in my collection. For a long time I didn't actually reorder or reorganize my everyday makeup drawer. I just kept everything in that one makeup bag, and that was super handy because I could just grab it and move to a different part of the house to do my makeup there. Say if I wanted to apply my makeup at the dining table, it's super easy, instead of taking out all these little compartments from my everyday makeup drawer and thinking, what kind of look am I gonna do? Super straightforward and easy to just go, here's what I'm using. I don't have to think about it. Loved it. I didn't feel restricted by the choices or by the selection of products. I'd actually be happy to continue with this. I don't feel the need to now go, well, okay, great, let's just open up my makeup bag of backups and, you know, just populate my everyday makeup drawer with more stuff again. I don't feel like doing that. I'm happy with this system. Even though I'm no longer on this challenge, I'm going to continue with it. Obviously, you know, certain products, you know, I might have the odd thing here in deck of padding or something like that. But it's not like I do a ton of other projects anyway. I mean, yeah, there's deck of padding. I will be doing Graveyard Project Pan, but that's just for 6 months. And a lot of that is going to be skincare. And skincare isn't part of this, so yeah, it'll be all right. So here's my makeup bag of backups now. I know I've already like referred to it as that, but in my intro, I still had that small IKEA wooden chest of drawers sitting in my closet with different drawers, different categories of backups in there. Yeah, and I got rid of it. I managed to fit everything from that chest of drawers into here. So happy about that. So that feels really good. And then obviously the goal is for me to eventually move all of this, well, pan my way through it, but also to move it into my one bigger IKEA Alex drawer, backup drawer. And then the smaller Alex drawer is my everyday makeup drawer. Yeah. But yeah, it all fits in here, and you can see there's like accessories in there as well, like brushes. I think I might outsource that into a different part of, you know, my house, but that's okay, but we'll see. Yeah, anyway, super happy they all fit in here now. And yeah, I'm happy with the system of, like I said, continuing with my selection here. Yes, there was the odd usage go item from other projects, but essentially the excitement about finishing something and then going back in here and through here and deciding what product am I going to put in next. So much joy. It's going to be the fastest way of me panning my way through my collection and to my goal. Because the less I rotate through items, the more I focus on panning one item for one category, the faster I can get to my goal. It's easy, you know, it's not rocket science. It really is like that. A huge thing about that was this whole issue about, oh, but you know, panning a look, then I'm not getting variety, that's gonna make me feel bored, blah, blah, blah. And I feel that that is such a trope in the beauty community, not necessarily the panning community. We're like, you know, very special. Obviously, we are such a different niche of the beauty YouTube community. Yeah, but I just feel like there is that trope. I understand that, I get that, and yeah, 100%, you know, there are categories for me where I feel like that too, with eyeshadows, for example. But then again, and that was something that I learned last time, I am quite happy to pan a look. Yeah, of course I would like to switch it up every now and then, and sometimes it doesn't match the outfit that I'm wearing. I'm less worried about, can I wear this look to work, because in my work environment I can literally show up how I want. That's very different, but yeah, whatever. I know it is such a huge thing, and it just finally, the penny dropped. Boredom is a really good thing. Boredom is the breeding ground for creativity. We need boredom in order to be creative. I need boredom in order to be creative. If I'm constantly stimulated by all the variety and all the stuff, I actually find myself feeling paralyzed and overwhelmed and not knowing what to do. Hear me out on this one, because this was my biggest insight. I was thinking about how basically this goes into like child psychology. So young children, when they are met with a new object, there's a phase that's called the exploration phase. It's basically when they're engaging with a new object, whether that's an everyday item or a toy, they're looking at it, they're exploring it. And then maybe once they're done with that, you know, finding out, oh, you know, how does it feel, the color, the touch, temperature, texture, whatever, you know, they might be done with that, because maybe then the new thing is presented to them, so they move on to the next thing and then do the exploration stage again, over and over and over again. However, if they're not constantly exposed to new things, then from the exploration stage, their brain can go to the creative stage, where they're actually figuring out, how can I use this object? What can it do? Or maybe when they're older as well and they're actually like starting to play, how can I create play from this? What can I do with this? Can I maybe turn this into something else? Can I do role play with this? If we let them sit in the boredom and be comfortable with that boredom, they're going to be really creative. And yeah, anyway, I've just gone off on one so deeply already, but I think you get the idea. And you know, I'm not trying to sit here and say you have to do this, or if you're doing it that way you're doing it all wrong. Like, come on, you know, we're all human. You know, it was just a revelation where I thought, well, if children's brains are wired like that, then we still have our inner child within us. And I think makeup to me certainly is a huge expression of that. And maybe also in some parts, sometimes it's about tending to my inner child as well and engaging in play. So if I'm constantly craving that newness because I'm trying to explore the new thing and that's all exciting, but ultimately I'm never allowing myself to be present in that state of boredom, of just thinking like, ugh, I don't like what I'm seeing here anymore. I want the new thing, but stopping that impulse and actually sticking with it. I know that once I get through that hurdle, and this is a little bit what this 30-day challenge has been mimicking, that boredom of you know, always using the same thing, I found so much joy in that. I feel no longer scared of being bored with my collection. I feel that I am creative enough and that I enjoy the process of applying makeup enough that I don't constantly need a new product or variety to help me to stay enchanted with this process. Okay, let's go back to some more light-hearted stuff. So I wrote here, whilst I dipped into lots of shadows that weren't in projects during last year's challenge, this time around, I only used shadows that were in projects. So 4 palettes I included. There was, let me show them to you. So there's this one here, Barry M Black Cherry, my Pan That palette. Of course it was in here, that makes sense. And then I had the I Heart Revolution Pineapple palette in here. This is my level 2 palette for Project Level Up. So, you know, have to do no pan left behind on here, hit 2 pans. So, you know, dipping into any shadow from these 2 palettes that you've seen so far is already using a shadow that's in a project. Same as for this one, Ciate London, I'm a Woman, What's Your Superpower? So I had this for No Pan Left Behind in Deck of Panning, and also I wanted to hit a pan in here for pan those eyeshadows. But then also with the ABH Riviera palette, this is my Pan That palette in order, so I'm only really supposed to be working on one shadow at a time. Did I dip into any other ones? I did 2 uses on shadows that I wasn't officially working on. That's really not a lot. Last year I did a lot more in terms of dipping out of the selected shadows. So I didn't feel like I really genuinely put myself on a timeout for my eyeshadow projects, but never mind, I still, you know, got what I needed out of it. I wrote here, I think the reason for it is because I'm just even more used to panning now than I was last summer, so that when I create looks, it doesn't feel like an option for me to dip into shadows that aren't in projects. So that is something that's obviously really restrictive when it comes to me really getting to know and making use of my eyeshadow collection, and I'm going to change that. My next video is going to be an intro for a new eyeshadow project pan. And I'm going to pause a couple of projects as well, eyeshadow projects, so that's going to help me with that side and with unlearning. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this challenge was to just tally up the uses of absolutely everything. I don't normally do that. It felt really good. It felt nice and like an achievement, an accomplishment at the end of the makeup application. It also means that this part of my day that I really genuinely so enjoy, and it helps me to ground myself and center myself. I can prolong that by, yeah, because I'm always, you know, towards the end when I'm done with my makeup, I'm always like, was that it? You know, isn't there anything else I could still apply? But being able to tally absolutely everything, I mean, of course, you know, it's my choice. I can do that anyway, but I never bothered before. But this has been so enjoyable for me, and because, you know, it adds an extra moment or two of joy to my application. It was also really nice to see the weight differences. I just weighed everything again and checked the difference and looked at the numbers, and that got me really pleased. I marked measurable items on a page and looked at that and the differences there, and yeah, that always feels really nice. Obviously I'm already doing that for other projects, but it's nice to see it in one entire month in a 30-day span, because say for my Nobel project pan, those updates are often 6 weeks apart. Yeah, so it's nice to see it like that. Another thing I did, and that I didn't do before, I wrote down every day what specific eye look I was doing. So I wanted to know which of my eyeshadow sticks was I using, which different eyeshadows were the main features. I thought that was really, really fun and helpful as well. And just, yeah, a nice extra thing to track. Why not? I'm not sure if that's really realistic for me to keep doing that. I might try to and see how far I get. If I decide to ditch any of these extra tallies or writing down the look somewhere along the line, that's also fine, you know. But yeah, it's been fun doing that, even though, if you know, it's only really for myself. But yeah, all right. Let's go and show you some of these items now, and yeah, I'm going to include some pictures here of what they looked like in the intro. And I'm just going to work through my list here. So first of all, there's the Catrice primer. This one I finished on day 25. I used this item 14 times before it was completely done, and I have a weight difference of 4.74 grams. So this is all done now. I'm so happy to have an empty. I then replaced this item on day 25 with my Bare Minerals Primetime Original Foundation Primer. I've used this item 4 times since then, so not every day. But I've got a weight difference here of 0.41 grams in those 4 uses. This next item here, I'm so pleased with the progress on it. And this is my PS foundation, my Perfect Color Illuminating Foundation in the shade Nougat. I applied this one 44 times. In 30 days? Yes. I regularly apply this in the morning, and then I just do, you know, a light base makeup, this and maybe a cream blush, powder if I'm in a rush, just lip balm and lip liner. I don't even really put anything in my brows. I don't really apply eye makeup then, but yeah, that's just sort of my base morning makeup, and then later on when I've got time to sit down to do my eye makeup, I reapply my foundation. So that's why you're seeing 44 uses here, but I'm alright with it, you know. It's not like I use a massive amount each time. I like a really sheer layer of foundation, and then sometimes I would go in and reapply where I need it. I use maybe not even half a pump each time, but still, there's a weight difference here of 6.77 grams. So proud of that. Next is my concealer. This is by XX Revolution, and it's in the shade CX2. I used this item 45 times, so 1 time more than my foundation, but yeah, there must have been a day when I reapplied just concealer rather than foundation and concealer. That's why you're seeing that difference there. I have got a weight difference of 0.62 gram. I'm going to give you some highlights compared to last year as well, but yeah, I'm gonna go through the rest of the products first. Here's my pressed powder, so also PS, my Perfect Color, also in the shade Nougat. I repressed this, so let me show you what it looks like now. I have used this item 46 times, so again, this is obviously a reapplication product, and I've used up 1.44 gram. Next is my MAC single eyeshadow here that I'm only using in my brows. I have used this 30 times, so once a day. I have a weight difference of 0.00. I'm using such a small amount. I don't know, maybe it was the scales difference in humidity levels. Who knows, but I do not have a weight difference on here for you. Strange, but it is what it is. And here is the infamous PS cream blusher in rose with that funny looking pan. So I've got an update on how this is looking, obviously, because I hit another pan in here, this one here, and then the pan I hit initially is all covered up. It's a very malleable product, but I'm making good progress on here. I've used this item 37 times and I've got a weight difference of 1.34 gram. Next are my two eyeshadow sticks. This one is e.l.f. No But Shadow Stick in Perfect Pearl, and this one is the Vive Eye Wand in Silver Mink. The e.l.f. Pearl I used 15 times. The Vive I used 16 times. But the weight difference is identical, so I've got 0.17 grams worth of difference on both of them each. Next are my two depotted complexion products. So here, this one is the Kiko single eyeshadow that I'm using as a blush topper. I've got 14 uses on here and a weight difference of 0.09. This one is a Franken between Sisley and Bare Minerals, and I used this one 20 times and I've got a weight difference of 0.17 gram. As for mascara, this is the Lush Lashes by Lush Mascara. I have used this 31 times and I've got a weight difference of 0.63 gram. I said I was going to declutter it on day 30. I'm not ready to do so yet. I think it works really well still. I also found that it had a sticker on here that told me the expiration date, and luckily Past Me was smart and thought ahead, so I took a picture of it. I found that, and I know it's still got a couple of weeks left on it, so I'm going to continue with it. Then there was the black eye pencil, the P2 Black Coal. I did not use this at all. I went back into here on day 11, I think that was. So 0 uses on here, and of course 0 weight difference. This item, this and the foundation, I'm the most proudest of in terms of my progress. This was so cool because I learned how to use this in 2 different ways now. This was an item where I was so convinced that it wouldn't work for tight lining, and here I am on day 30 and I've used this item every single day for tight lining, and I think it's beautiful. So that's why I'm flying through this now, and the difference of it, oh, I can show you, and I'm going to come back to the eyeshadow sticks because I forgot. Just look at the difference here. This is gigantic. In 1 month I can probably finish this in another 2 months, maybe 1.5. So previously I was only using this on my lower lash line and I was only using this every other day, so I'm using it 4 times more now. I'm so glad I gave it another go. See, this is what I mean in terms of sometimes the boredom, the restriction actually means that it's only then that we venture out and try things in different ways, and maybe we'll find a new way of using something, and then yeah, I'll be able to have this one out by June, and ordinarily I may have really struggled to finish this by December. Yeah. So I've used this 30 times and I've got a weight difference of 1.34 gram. I might have already said that. Here's the weight difference on the Vive eye pen, by the way, and this is the one on the e.l.f. No But Shadow Stick. So you can see that's pretty much identical, and I used them roughly the same amount of times. I mean 15 and 16 uses, so yeah, to be expected. Phone storage was 4, of course, but let's just keep going. Right, lip products are next. So there's this concocted one here. I think I just hit pan in this, so there's definitely a pan expansion here. I've used this item 17 times and I've got a weight difference of 0.13 gram. This Revolution Shimmer Bomb lip gloss in Sparkle Pink. I'm so close on being done with it. I really tried to push myself to finish it for day 30, but I couldn't. I really started to increase my uses on here, wearing this one every day instead of only maybe every once in 3 days, that kind of thing. I had to go and unfollow a ton of podcasts and remove downloads. Anyway, so used this one 29 times and I've got a weight difference of 0.55 gram. This lip liner here, again, I have been trying to use this one up, have it done for day 30. This moves so slowly, even though I'm wearing this every single day. This has replaced the item that was in my bathroom before this challenge. I'm using this now in the mornings. That's another insight actually, where I always felt like I needed separate items in my bathroom. A lip liner that I would then use with a lip balm and a concealer. I'm moving things over from my makeup drawer anyway into the bathroom when I'm applying my makeup in the morning. So, you know, whether I add a lip liner and a concealer to that or not really makes no difference. It's no extra stress to me, you know. Yet again, I'm working on the same products then throughout, which makes more sense. But yeah, so I've got 33 uses on here. Only a weight difference of 0.14 gram. And this is the difference of it. Yeah, it's gonna take me probably into autumn before I can be done with it. But that's okay. I'm not loving it. I'm not hate panning it either. I've still got enough reddish toned items in my collection that I can go through instead of buying another one like that. Anyway, okay. Another lip liner I had in here. So this is Revolution Satin Kiss Lip Liner in Chauffeur. I have used this 11 times, so exactly 3 times less. And the difference on here is bigger. So yeah, this is the difference on the Mango Splash, that tiny one that I just showed you. 33 uses, 11 uses. It really shows that the formula obviously has a lot to do with how fast you're gonna go through something, and you know, that gap of the Maybelline tattoo liner. Very, very, very soft formula. If you've got one in your collection and you're wanting to downsize your eye pencils, pan a gel pencil tattoo liner by Maybelline. Go and do that one next. I also had this one in here. This is a daily use item anyway. Collection Gorgeous Glow Filter Finish Complexion Boosting Primer and Illuminator. I use this for cleaning up fallout under my eyes. I have used this item 26 times and I've got a weight difference of 0.66 gram here. So it must be that, yeah, sometimes if I was doing like maybe a light look, I forgot to use this a few times, or maybe I forgot to tally, but yeah, there's that. And my other empty, so the Revolution Pro Goddess Glow Fixing Spray, I used this 5 times before it was done, and I had a weight difference of 2.3 gram on here before it was done. And like I said, a long time ago in this video, I didn't replace this, even though I have an actual replacement item in my collection now, but I didn't feel the need to put another fixing spray in here because I wanted to focus on the primer, and that way I got my other empty. Just the 4 eyeshadow palettes next. I'm going to give you weight differences on there as well, total amount of uses, and then I'm going to show you which of the shadows I actually used. Bit like a, yeah, eyeshadow project update in that sense. And then I think we're done. Wow. With the Barry M palette, Black Cherry, my pan that palette, I've got a weight difference of 1.15 gram here. And I've got 97 uses on here. Obviously, I use multiple eyeshadows in every look. And I've just added up all the tallies. Why don't I go through which specific shadows I've used? Yeah, we'll do it palette by palette. Okay. So here's the palette and what it's looking like now. It's not really a spoiler because I've very recently filmed my Pan That Palette update, even though it was posted a long time ago for you. But I'm going to link that here anyway. All right. Ripen, 7 uses. Glacé, I've got 29 uses on here. Cherry Tart, 11 uses. Bakewell, 14 uses. Sour, 5 uses. Wild, 6 uses. Juiced, 5 uses. Bitter, 7 uses. And Poison, 13 uses. Next is the ABH Riviera palette, and I've got a total of 10 uses on here. And that's a weight difference of 0.07 gram. I used Sales, that white shadow, once. I used Seychelles, the blue one, 6 times, and Palermo next to it 3 times. Yeah, not a lot of uses, but some. And then the I Heart Revolution Pineapple palette, 10 uses on here as well, but the weight difference is bigger than the one in the Riviera palette, and I've got 0.15 gram versus 0.07 what I had over there, so about double the amount of weight in the same amount of uses. And I've got 1 use here on Sweet, 1 use on Jelly, 4 uses on Upside Down, and 4 uses on Hummingbird as well. Actually, I've got this shadow all over my eyelids today. And finally, Ciate London I'm a Woman, What's Your Superpower palette. 30 total uses, and I've got a weight difference of 0.45 grams. I also now decided to throw away the plastic cover, and that weighs 3.24 grams. That's a lot, isn't it? That's a lot of weight for, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest. So with this palette, I used everything in the top row once, everything in the second row once, apart from Power Hungry here, which I had pan in, and I used this one 6 times. And then the bottom 2 rows, everything was used once as well, apart from Independent Woman, which I used twice. Let me give you some highlights, comparisons to last time. I did mention that. I was still going to do that ages ago. So, okay, compared to 2024, I used less concealer, but double the amount of foundation. I thought that was really interesting. Maybe a season thing? Spring, end of winter versus summer. I used the exact same amount of the Kiko single, which is interesting to me, but I used less of the Bare Minerals and Sizzly bronzer, which was also in the challenge last year. The only palette that was in both challenges is this one here, the Riviera palette, and I used less of this time round. I used the exact same amount in terms of shadow sticks. I thought that was really interesting as well, so I haven't really changed my eye makeup in that sense. Some other highlights from this year. So the product with the biggest weight difference is the foundation, and whereas last year the product with the biggest weight difference was my primer, but again, I know that was because it was the summer. Yeah, but yeah, interesting thought, right? Yes. My most used product with 46 uses was my face powder, but then also if I combine both of the lip products, so the Franken lip balm, tinted lip balm, and which this is Tower 28 and Dirty Works in terms of a vanilla scented lip balm mixed together, and the Revolution lip gloss together, I've got 46 uses here as well. So face powder and lip products are the items that I reapply the most throughout the day, and the exact same amount. So I thought that was interesting. Wow, this has been so long. Thank you so much for being here all the way until the end. I'm pretty certain I'm gonna do something like this again. Who knows when? Maybe not until 2026, maybe not until summer 26. I don't know. Whenever I need time to reevaluate something, when I'm feeling a little bit stuck with projects or with my makeup collection, this is such a good thing that helps me to, yeah, take a time out and reassess and fall in love with makeup and my collection all over again, and really make some cool decisions about stuff and see some really good progress as well, obviously. So yeah, speaking of cool decisions, remember, next video is going to be the introduction to my new eyeshadow project. I'm very excited. I already knew what it was going to be when I put myself on this challenge, but I definitely needed the time to change everything a little bit, you know, to just make these small changes of how exactly is it going to look. Yeah. The fine-tuning, if you like. So it was useful for that. I hope that despite doing all of this during a Venus and Mercury retrograde, I'm not going to regret any of it. We're gonna have to wait and see, but yeah, it's just another experiment, and I love doing these, as you know. There's always so much to be learned. Let me know in the comments if you've done a makeup challenge. Maybe you're like, duh, Dora, I'm doing this anyway. Like, I don't need a challenge because I am only using what I have, and then once I've run out, that's when I replace an item. I know one of you have commented on my previous video about that already, and I thought it was so interesting because guess what? I used to use my makeup like that too before panning, really. Before I got into makeup. Okay, enough of me rambling now. I really hope you have a lovely rest of your day or night, wherever you are, and I'm sending you so much love. Take care. Bye. Mwah.